sponsored intimidation, often violent, of Pakistani citizens protesting government actions in a legal and peaceful manner. We urge you to make a public appeal to this end and to raise these matters forcefully in your interactions with Pakistani government officials. Again, nothing less will be acceptable from the Treasury bench when the Minister comes to address the House this evening. But following my discussions with Imran Khan today, I want to indicate that the primary concern I have and the primary concern of most Pakistanis living in Britain is this: why is Altaf Hussain being allowed from a sofa in Edgware to conduct a terrorist campaign and a campaign of extortion of businesses and citizens in Sindh, and why was he given British citizenship? I want to ask the Minister tonight, and if he doesn't have the answer to hand, I would like him to write to me and tell me the answer to this question. Was Altaf Hussain ever refused British citizenship? And if he was refused British citizenship, what changed between that refusal and the granting of citizenship to him? It is an extraordinary thing, Madam Deputy Speaker, in the middle of a so-called war on terror, that a bloody reign of terror in a major Pakistani city, and there are millions of Pakistanis who are citizens of our own country, a terrorist cell is operating from Edgware in the form of the MQM. Every day, Altaf Hussain, a British citizen, addresses his puppets in Karachi, giving them instructions on how they should govern, including how they should handle peaceful demonstrations. Now, the Minister smiles smugly. He may think this is a small matter. But if this man, instead of being a stooge of President Musharraf, instead of being a stooge of a government allied to his own, if he were a hooked-handed, glass-eyed, ranting mullah, he would at best already be in Belmarsh, and at worst would be on a plane deported to the country where he has absconded from. Murder charges. This man is the godfather of Sindh, the godfather of Karachi, living high on the hog from the extortion of the citizens of Karachi. I really don't know why the Minister finds this funny. This is a serious matter. And the question that must be answered is, how long will the British government tolerate this situation that's occurring under their noses? And by the way, citizenship was given to Hussain under this government in 1999, and it's my belief that he was refused citizenship under the previous administration. So I want to know why he was given citizenship and why he's being allowed to operate with impunity in this way. Because the truth is, Madam Deputy Speaker, far from symbolizing the future for the Muslim countries around the world, General Musharraf crystallizes the problem which Western governments have in the Muslim countries around the world. We tell people that we're invading countries in order to defend democracy and liberty, but we support dictators who crush democracy and liberty as long as they do it in concordance with Western policy on other matters. You see, the slogan, "My enemy's enemy is my friend," is a deeply flawed one from which the government does not seem to have learned. They didn't read the novel Frankenstein to the end. Dr. Frankenstein created a monster, but he lost control of it, because you can't control monsters. Across the border in Afghanistan, we helped to create the monster of jihadism and Islamist fundamentalism, which became Bin Laden, became the Taliban, on the principle that my enemy's enemy was my friend. But Madam Deputy Speaker, as we're finding in Iraq, finding to some extent in Palestine, your enemy's enemy isn't always your friend. Sometimes your enemy's enemy is worse than your enemy. And by allying yourself with your enemy's enemy, making him your friend, you become complicit in the crimes that he commits. Nobody in the Muslim world can believe that this government is really interested in democracy and liberty in the Muslim world, so long as they're kissing Colonel Gaddafi in the tent at Sirte, the same Colonel Gaddafi who brought down the Lockerbie airliner, we were told, with the deaths of hundreds of people, the same Colonel Gaddafi who we said funded the IRA's bombing campaign in Britain through the 70s and the 80s, the same Colonel Gaddafi that we said shot down an English policewoman in a London square. Nobody can believe that Colonel Gaddafi deserves the kisses of the British Prime Minister. Nobody believes Colonel Gaddafi has changed, just that he has changed sides. Nobody believes that General Musharraf really is the President of Pakistan, and to treat him as if he is the President of Pakistan is an insult to the hundreds of millions of Pakistanis living under the iron heel of his dictatorship, not to mention the Pakistanis living as citizens in Britain, many of whom have traditionally voted for the Minister's party. So I hope that he will bear that in mind when he answers this. General Musharraf is a tyrant who is about to fall. I urge this Minister not to do as the now Lord Owen did in backing the tyrant Shah of Persia until the last moments before he fell. It was because of Western support for tyrants like the Shah until the last moments that the radicalization of such as the Islamic Revolution in Iran took place. My last words are these, Madam Deputy Speaker. Pakistan is a nuclear power. After Musharraf falls, no one knows who will replace him, whose finger will be on the nuclear trigger in Pakistan once Musharraf falls. The government would be doing Britain the favour that Biden and others are doing America by intervening now to distance themselves from this tyrant and to help the democratic forces come back to power in Pakistan.
Mr. Jeff Hu.
Madam Deputy Speaker, could I begin by extending the normal courtesies of the House to the Honourable Member for Bethnal Green and Bow on securing tonight's debate, which he entitled The Restoration of Democracy in Pakistan. I'm sure that everyone, including I hope the Honourable Member, will join me in condemning the recent violence in Karachi and terrorist attacks in Pakistan which have killed and injured so many people. On behalf of the United Kingdom, I extend my sympathies and condolences to those affected. But as this House is aware, Pakistan is an important friend and ally of the United Kingdom. 60 years after independence, the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and this country is as close as it has ever been. We're closely intertwined historically, culturally and politically. Over 800,000 British citizens living in the United Kingdom have Pakistani origins. What is perhaps less well known is that there are at least 80,000 residents in Pakistan with British nationality. About 150,000 people from each country visit the other country every year. Pakistan is at the heart of a range of key international issues, including counter-terrorism, counter-proliferation, counter-narcotics, migration and cross-cultural community relationships. These are all shared challenges which we need to tackle together. The United Kingdom is grateful for the continuing cooperation on counter-terrorism which it receives from Pakistan, and for the sacrifices which Pakistan has made in the border region with Afghanistan to prevent the Taliban and other criminal elements from crossing that border. This debate is, however, focused on the question of democracy, and I want to deal with a number of related issues in turn. First of all, the question of human rights. This government welcomes President Musharraf's commitment to promoting enlightened moderation. Recent reform of the Hudud laws was an important step forward in human rights and democracy in Pakistan. Ministers have consistently raised human rights questions with the Pakistani government, welcoming its efforts on the Women's Protection Bill, for example. Follow-up from the British government detailed a number of our human rights concerns in Pakistan and offered UK support on a range of connected issues. One of these areas was the effect of the blasphemy laws on religious minority groups. We have welcomed Pakistan's efforts to address this issue and encourage further reform of discriminatory legislation. I am, of course, aware of the continuing problems faced by minority groups in Pakistan, such as the Christian community in the Northwest Frontier province. We continue to monitor closely the developments in these cases. Both bilaterally and together with our European partners, we continue to engage in dialogue with Pakistan on the issues of discriminatory legislation and the